we basically turned into long distance runners, but we were awful rugby players.
I didn't know how hard England, Ireland, France, Italy were training, but I told the boys they were training harder than anyone else because they genuinely believe it.
You know, some coaches are very good at that and some are not. I think rugby seems to be going in the direction of realising there's a real value in individual analysis, individual preparation.
So, Summer Nation Series is about to get underway. The last chance for the teams to prepare ahead of going to France for the Rugby World Cup. Some teams have had really good years, some teams a bit of a work in progress, but there is still plenty of time. John, I'm going to start with you. I guess in your experience, everything you've seen in terms of the Scotland setup, what would be some of the things you would be looking for in terms of, right, we need to have this in place, we need to have that in place, just to make sure that come the World Cup, we're starting off on a good footing?
I think I'd look back before I looked forward. And I think we got 2019 wrong from pretty early on. I think there was a feeling in camp that there was a lack of alignment in how we were trying to play the game and the way we were saying we wanted to play the game and the way we were training. And I don't know if the guys been involved in teams that are, sometimes teams involved are really good at looking back, we should have changed this. But in a World Cup, it's too late. And I remember thinking we played Ireland first time, we were way off. And then we knew we had to go, and we probably still should have qualified looking ahead. But I would just say make sure you know how you're trying to play the game. Look at the opposition and look at yourselves, but probably that more inward focus on this is how we are going to play the game and everything we do, because the pre-season is long. World Cup pre-season is long, and make sure everything we do is geared towards winning that. And the alarm bells for us probably should have gone off in 2019. We went to France, week one of the first pre-season block of games. And don't get me wrong, I've never met anyone who thinks they've had a bad pre-season until they've played a game. It's all going great until you played a game. Your prep's going great, and you're all strong and you're fit, and you play someone and you get your pants pulled down. You're like, this is not really going to plan.
Going into the World Cup, it really is a balance, because for the Northern Hemisphere teams, they have to get enough work done at the start of that pre-season to make sure they're fit and they're strong. But then at the tail end of that, you got to balance making sure that you're match ready. And then you're also trying to get your every coach will probably know their World Cup squad numbers 1 to 20 something. So you have to give the rest of the guys game time to give them a chance to fill that. You've also got to give what is your strongest team time to play together. And I think people will probably find it a little bit strange that 15 or 23 that are reasonably regular, you still have to give them time together to gel before the World Cup. So it's getting that balance between understanding you need to get fit, you need to get strong, but you've also got to make sure that you're a rugby team, because that is the most important thing. If I've been to World Cups where we basically turned into long distance runners, but we were awful rugby players, and that just doesn't work. And you go to the World Cup and everything falls apart, and then the first thing you do is you look back at your preparation, and once you start to question that, it is a hole that is very, very difficult to get out of.
I think as a player, it would always take me 2 or 3 games, proper games, to get up to sharp, no matter how much fitness and running and weights and everything you did, because everyone does the same amount of stuff. But then how do you test it when you're being tackled and you're having to tackle and scrum and maul and all these kind of things? And for that series there in particular, making sure that you've ironed everything out, you've tried a couple of moves, you've tried combinations, but there's confidence in the team, there's confidence in the way you want to play, there's confidence in your lungs, so that you know that after 15 minutes, you're still going to be able to think clearly, and you're not going to be kind of grasping for air and trying to get water on and all this kind of stuff. So for me, it's making sure that after those 3 or 4 games, as a team and as a squad, everyone's had a good hit out and everyone's confident in their own abilities and what they've done for the past 2 or 3 months, that they're ready to hit the campaign running.
Yeah, Ben's a different twist on the question, but obviously rugby's a team sport, but within that team sport, you probably do need a couple of guys who are your game breakers, who are your superstars, who just take the team to another level. France, of course, Antoine Dupont at the minute. Do you think you need that balance to make a good team, or does it need to be a team of equals?
No, you need the balance, but sometimes your superstars can be your bench guys. Look at the bomb squad 2019 for South Africa. They were absolutely key, especially towards the later stage of it. So you need the right balance, you need the right mindset. I think it's also interesting to see the unbroken life of a 40-man squad for the first time for 8 weeks consecutively together. So the team spirit is absolutely important, and the guys who could feel because of the bib games and because of the first warm-up games that they're not really going to be starters, getting their attitude and the fact that they push the team on a daily basis, absolutely perfect. That's key. So those star players are as important as you mentioned it when we spoke about leadership, about those changing room players, those glue players that will just be there mostly when things get bad. Otherwise, you never really hear about them. But when things get really bad, it's fantastic. But other than that, in terms of preparation, it's just super exciting because some teams will always try to do something different. I mean, the Welsh have always been leading the way in terms of conditioning, so they start doing watt bikes. So with the French team 2015, we took watt bikes everywhere. We did watt bikes in high altitude chambers, then we took them to Tignes at 3,000 meters, and we were terrible at rugby. We were fantastic at watt bikes. So there's always going to be different things that are going to be tried out. How can we outcompete, even in terms of preparation, something? And I know France for a fact are going with the special forces in French Guyana in South America, which is apparently one of the toughest, military camps that they can do. So these boys are in for a treat. So I'm glad I'm not doing that one.
Right. So they'll be ready for the special forces, but maybe not ready.
Maybe not. Maybe they can kill anacondas, but they can't beat New Zealand.
Not ready
basically.
for New Zealand. I mean, the watt bike was a big thing, though. Everyone started using the watt bikes. Everyone started doing the different fitness tests. Everybody was trying to measure, I guess, and get as much data and information, saying, right, if we can do this watt bike test, was it the 6 on 24 off? Is that still the one? 5 on 20? All these different similar tests.
But even as a kid, you would hear the legendary New Zealand does this on a bleep test, but they don't even do a bleep test. They put like a tackle shield at the end of each line or something ridiculous. But these rumours just start speculating and circulating, and you're like, oh, we need to do that now because that's what the best do. So you try and copy, but you need to do that, but you also need to do it in your own style.
Mara, if you're in the Italy camp, what information do you want? You've got so much. You can pick and choose from wherever you want, but actually, what would you like to see in terms of data information?
I think that before to concentrate on the pool games, one after the others, I think that's the good ways is that give to the players new chance of experience together, just to create a good balance inside outside the field, working on a strategy to play on the World Cup. I think that's the first part is really important in moments with a good generation is having different satisfaction from the field, and we need the continuity on that way. So I think that's close, really close. The team is most important before the rest.
Yeah. Sam, you've been to a couple of World Cup semi-finals, so you know what it takes to get there. Thanks to you for the watt bike tip. Yeah, we need another show on that. But the preparation side of it, so those years where Wales did nearly...
Yeah, I think first things first is on day one, you need a good group of people. All good teams are full of good people. So it's explained why some top players haven't made Welsh squads, maybe Lions tours. You've got to pick good players, but you've got to pick good people. So you get good people in the room first. And then Warren was really massive about generating confidence and belief. And I've heard him say since, he's like, I didn't know how hard England, Ireland, France, Italy were training, but I told the boys they were training harder than anyone else because they genuinely believe it. And when then you're playing a warm-up game or a pool game and you get to 60th minute and you've been told you're fitter and you see somebody showing some poor body language from the opposition, then it's, this is where we take over. But, you're all as fit as each other. We don't train any harder than anyone else. You're all working so hard. But if you have that belief when you go into the final 20 minutes of a game, I think that's where New Zealand have historically separated themselves, is their composure and belief in that last 20 is clearer than everyone else's.
It's kind of like a pre-season, everybody's measuring everything, you're all doing your fitness tests and everyone's tracking speed and tracking, meters man, and, even like the GPS data now, you can measure collisions, you could almost have anything and everything you want. I mean, I guess if we look at maybe 2019 and what you've learnt from that going ahead into this World Cup, is there anything you wish you had more of then, or you'd like to see from the boys in terms of, right, if we have this bit of information, this will definitely help our preparation going into the World Cup?
I wish I had been fitter or faster. I think that's probably the only thing. I think I was going to get into the end in 2019 and was really digging in to keep. I think it's probably, if there was a way to measure recovery, I think would have been a great thing. I think the older you get, you probably need a bit more. And I think that's the way rugby is going now, is different players need different things in terms of their preparation in the week, the build up to it, emotionally and physically. We all need slightly different stimuluses. Some coaches are very good at that. and some are not. And some will say, well, we're a team, so we all do the same thing. But actually, I think rugby seems to be going in the direction of realising there's a real value in individual analysis, individual preparation. And, let's look at what gets the most out of, whoever the player is. What do they need individually? And a lot of weights programs can be tailored that way, but I mean more specific to match stuff, game stuff. And then obviously we use that to, help cater the way you're going to try and play the game.